There's nothing more painful than realizing your biggest engineering problem was your engineering. 8 months ago, I started building a camera lens. It started as a dumb little project to mount a broken point-and-shoot optic in my modern camera. And somehow, it turned into a lens I plan on selling. The problem is, it was over-engineered. It had swappable lenses, magnets, bayonet locks, way too many parts, and one gigantic problem. If you focus too close, the front of the lens would literally unscrew itself and fall off, which lets the full power of the sun vaporize your eyeball. So I threw away 8 months of engineering. I knew exactly how to fix it. The problem was, fixing it meant deleting almost everything I'd built. The focusing system, the removable lens block, basically the entire internal architecture. I wasn't improving the lens anymore, I was building a completely different one.
Now, when I say building a different lens, I really mean it. I started with brand new files. Now, there were a couple things I kept from my original design.
I liked the overall depth of the lens. I discovered that I could use it as a stool for my camera because it was slightly taller than the hand grip. Typically, people stand their cameras up like this, but if you place it down on the face, it is more stable. I'm also keeping the height of the focus ring. This will allow me to keep all the focus ring textures that I designed. Lastly, I'm gonna keep the height of the lens block. I did a lot of testing to optimize the lens hood without it vignetting, so keeping that will save me some time. The biggest change I made was the focusing mechanism. Camera lenses focus by moving the optics closer or farther from the camera's sensor. Most modern autofocus lenses use tiny motors to do this automatically, but older manual focus lenses usually use something called a helicoid, a spiral mechanism that converts rotation into forward and backward movement. Helicoids can be designed to cover a lot of ground quickly or travel very slowly. Mine traveled very slowly. I needed to have a thread that looked like this. What I originally made looked more like this. The old lens focused like a bolt. It was incredibly precise. It was also incredibly slow. That and the falling apart and blinding you issue, more on that shortly. So I replaced the threaded system with 3 helical channels. Now the entire focusing range happens in exactly half a turn. It's smoother, it's faster, it focuses internally, and it finally stays together because I bolted that bitch down. Partway through the process, I realized I wasn't throwing away 8 months of work. I just spent 8 months figuring out what not to build. Engineering is like building a house of cards. You try to straighten out one card, and suddenly you're building a new house. The old lens, you could take the whole thing apart and easily swap aperture discs. With the new design, the aperture has to be installed through the lens mount, which doesn't leave you much room to work, so I redesigned the aperture discs with 2 finger indents that made them much easier to install and remove. Here's the old focusing system.
Ah, shit.
And here's the new one. It's faster, smoother, and just feels like a real camera lens. My goal isn't just to make something interesting, it's to make something people are genuinely excited to use. With the lens quirks ironed out, I was able to focus on user experience.
Real OGs remember this one.
My lens base and focus ring are both hollow, so they create this sound when focusing. It's not awful, but it's a lot louder than a standard camera lens. I also purchased something called Nyogel 767A. It's a very specialized and expensive damping grease used in electronics and actually washing machines. I'm hoping that it quiets down my lens and makes the focusing feel even more premium. If it doesn't work, at least I'll be able to service my washing machine for the next 50 years. Mission accomplished. One thing I didn't really think about when building this lens was all the material options. Like, what would this look like in ABS? What about carbon fiber or resin? That's why I partnered with Justway, who offered to sponsor this video. They manufacture everything from CNC machined aluminum and stainless steel to resin prints, carbon fiber, SLS nylon, injection molding, basically every process I wish I had room for in my garage. It's been incredibly useful getting to compare the same parts in completely different material and manufacturing methods, all while not spending thousands of dollars to buy the needed equipment. So if you're designing your own product or prototypes, definitely check them out. I'll leave a link below. Now back to my camera lens. At this point, you might be wondering, why not just buy a Retropia or a Pocket Dispo Pro? Honestly, they're the reason I started this project in the first place. I thought the idea of putting disposable camera lenses on modern cameras was awesome. But as a photographer, I wanted more control. I wanted focusing. I wanted to control the amount of light that hit my sensor. And I wanted a lens that felt less like a novelty and more like a real creative tool. My lens weighs 2.9 ounces. It's about the same as a Sony NP-FZ100 battery or 4 rolls of 35mm film. For comparison, the Pocket Dispo Pro and Retropia lenses both weigh less than 1 ounce. Both the Retropia and Pocket Dispo camera lenses are fixed at f10. That's fine, but every photo you take is going to feel very similar. You can actually push a disposable lens further with wider or narrower apertures. I also made an aperture storage plate for all the apertures included with the kit. It can fit in your pocket or on a carabiner, paracord, or maybe you're one of those dudes with the chain wallets. Works there too. Just don't confuse it with your vape. Here's a few pictures I took with the lens at different apertures. Make sure you pause if you want to look at the details, or you can join my Discord channel and download them and check them out yourself. These are pretty much straight out of camera. I'm not much of a photographer or a photo editor. I like more of the engineering aspect of cameras. There's no Lightroom presets on it or, film emulations or anything like that. It's just basically straight out of camera. I might have cropped a couple of them and upped the contrast in certain areas and stuff like that, but you can definitely do better than this.
Okay, so where does this project go from here? Well, my plan is to adapt this to a few other mounts. I want to offer this on Canon RF, Nikon mount, a few other ones as well. So if you have a specific mount you'd like to see this camera offered in, let me know in the comments. I also need to figure out what colors I want to offer this lens in. The base that you see here, as well as the focus ring, are both customizable. So I'd like to be able to extend that to anybody who's interested in purchasing. There's also different focus ring textures that you can order. And my plan is to launch it very soon. If you want to be one of the first people to know about it, then head over to my website, adaptedoptics.com, and sign up for my mailing list. But it's funny. As I was finishing this project, I remembered something from when I started the project. The original lens I designed was never meant to be one lens. It was supposed to be a tool to build a camera lens using any optic you could find. However, my original design was trying to accomplish too much. I wanted a compact form factor. I wanted smooth focusing. That's just not something you can pack into a lens that can handle any optic that you throw at it. So in the future, I'm gonna be working on my very next product, which is the DIY Lens Maker's Kit. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.